In our previous video, we did talk about controllers in Laravel. In this video, I would like us to talk about models. We will also mention migrations, a little bit on factories and database seeders. So let us jump right into it. In Laravel, we interact with database tables using models. Each database table has a corresponding model. We use models to create, insert, retrieve, and delete records. All this is done using Eloquent. Eloquent is an object relational mapper, or in other words, ORM. Migrations represent the structure of the database schema and help in creating the tables for our application. I would like us to go ahead and see how we can be able to create migrations, and we will also see how we can be able to create migrations and models and factories and controllers and all that into one. So I want us to open our terminal, and since our application is running on one of the terminals, we can be able to open another one. If we want to create a model, we can run the command php artisan make model, and then on top of that we can add the name of the model. And I would like to, before I add the name of the model, just hit enter such that we see how Laravel is built to assist us using Laravel prompts. So it's asking us what should the model be named. And I would like us to just name it customers. Actually, in naming of the model, we usually use singular, so customer. And then the table will be customers. So let me hit enter, and then it's asking us if we require to also have factories, migrations, and all that. And we can be able to go ahead and choose all that. I would like to just cancel this and clear. And obviously we have not been able to create the model. So we can also be able to just run the command php artisan make model, and then the name of our model, customer, and then we can tag. If we want a migration, we can tag -m. If we want a factory, we can tag F. If we want controller, we can say C. And if we want the controller to be a resource controller, which we talked about in the previous video, we can tag that. So I would like us to just try and see how we can be able to just have the customer model and the migration only. So I'm going to hit enter, and now you can see the customer.php is created inside app models, and then we also have migrations. And I would like us to scroll and see what we actually have. So we open up, then open models, and now you can see we have customer.php. So let us look at how our model looks like, and then we are having it with a class customer extending model, and then we have has factory, and we are using this trait for us to be able to generate the factories. And when I talk about factories in Laravel, picture it as fake data. So for example, if you're building an application and you do not have the real users that you'll be using that application, you can be able to create some fake users and then do staging and then do testing. Then after you do that, then you can be able to open it up now to be used by the users. But you will have had an insight into how the application will work and how it looks like. On top of the model that we have created, we usually, when we go to database, and then we go to migrations. So inside here, we have the customer migration and the customers migration. So this is the migration for the customers table. And as we have said, it's sort of like a structure that represents what tables we will have in our database in this case. Once we have the migrations, then we can be able to go ahead and even do migration. In this case, change now, push whatever it is that we have in this schema into now real database tables. And I would like to do that. I will run the command artisan migrate, and this command will be able to take whatever schema that we have inside our migrations and then send it to our database. So whether you're using MySQL or whatever database you're using, then that will be sent there. But as you can see, we have several migrations on top of whatever it is that I have created. We have personal access, jobs, cache, and users. And these ones come automatically with an installation of Laravel 11. In this case, I also want us to go to our .env, and this is a place where we usually define what kind of database we are using. So in this case, you can see here our DB connection is SQLite. If it could have been MySQL, we could change this to MySQL and every other thing will remain, and we will uncomment everything that has been commented here, and we can be able to use MySQL. But in this case, I would actually want us to just have it with SQLite like that. Now I want us to go ahead and do our migration. So I'm going to hit enter, and now all our tables have been migrated. It is important for me to mention that we have a directory that is called config inside our Laravel application, and this config also has configurations for the database. So when we open this directory and we go to database.php, here is where we have been able to set up some databases that you can be able to have in our application. So you can see the default one is SQLite. Then we have MySQL, and these are some of the values that are required. Then we have MariaDB, we have Postgres SQL, then we have SQL SRV. On top of that, we have, of course, the migrations, and we have also caching by Redis, and so on and so forth. So basically, that is how our config database looks like. The reason why I've mentioned it, it's related with actually what it is that we are doing. Now we have our migrations having been run. So in this case, what that means is that the tables have been created. And the only table that has been created is the customers table, because the other migrations were run when we were installing our Laravel application. And I believe if you were keen on the first video that we were working with, you were able to see that the migrations were actually run. And still, if you did not see, you can be able to just create a new Laravel application and see that at the end of everything, you have the migrations being run for the previous migrations that we have inside our database migration directory. I would like us to visualize our database. And what I have done, I have downloaded an extension in my VS Code that is called SQLite Viewer, like that. So this is what I actually use to view. I downloaded the first one, which has 1 million downloads. That actually says something about the stability of it. And so it's the one that I will use to visualize our database. So I'm going to just click on database, and then here is where our database is, the SQLite database, and then I will open it. It says it is unsupported, but I will go ahead and click open anyway because I've installed that extension. So once I open SQLite Viewer, then we can be able to view our tables. Now, one of the tables that we have is a table called migration. Then we have SQLite sequence. That one is created by SQLite. Then we have users. So in this case, in our users table, we have those columns. And if you check in our migrations, the columns that we have here are exactly the same as what we have. Then we have the other tables. What I'm interested in is the customers table. We did not create any other columns apart from whatever it is that was there already. And as you can see, we have ID, and we have created that and updated it. I want to show you where those ones are coming from. If we go to migrations and we go to our customers schema, in this case customer migration, you can see we have ID. That is where the ID is coming from. And then created that and updated that are actually being given by the timestamps. So basically that is that. So once we have it like this, we have 3 columns. I would like to add a little bit more of the columns. So in this case, we can say table And then whatever it is that we are touching here is the data type. So in this case, we can say string for a column that is varchar. And then we can say name. So we have the customer name. And then you can be able to copy this. I press on Windows, Shift Alt, and then the arrow that points down in the navigation arrows. And then we can have email. And then we can have another column. We can have gender, like that. And this one maybe we can have it as an enum. And we can say gender, and the only allowed genders that maybe we want to have, we can say male, female, like that. So we can have it like that. So basically what I'm saying here is that whatever it is that you are putting here is the schema for our tables. And then now, because we had already run the migration previously, if I want now for the changes that we have here to be captured, what I'm going to do is to run the migrations again. And if you want to rerun the migrations, you will, if you run PHP artisan migrate, it will tell you nothing to migrate. But if you want to run them forcefully, you can say PHP artisan migrate fresh. Care should be taken here, because what it does is that if our database has any data inside the tables, they will be deleted. So you should be careful when you run that command. And I would like us to go back to our database.sqlite and then open it and see what we have. So inside our customers table, now you can see we have some new columns that have been added. We have name, we have email, we have gender, and we have created that and updated that. So basically, we have been able to add by what I have just done there. So basically, I think in terms of migrations, I have mentioned a little bit about it. Other things we can be able to cover in more advanced videos that I will be producing. I would like us to go back to our models, and we will go to app models, and I want to go to the customer model. But before I do that, let me first of all show you what we have in the user model. So inside the user model, because we have authentication, as you can see above here, we have Illuminate Foundation Auth User authenticable. So our users will be authenticated and maybe logged in and given some resources. Then we have protected fillable name, email, and password. These are the fields that are inside the user migration and also the user table. We also have that the password is hidden, and also the remember token is hidden, because if you show the password whenever you are accessing the user, you might have a compromise of the system. Then we have casts. We have email verified as being casted as the date time, and the password is hashed. By the password being hashed, it means it is not stored as plain text, for purposes of ensuring that even if somebody gets hold of your database, they cannot be able to know the passwords that users were having. And in a way, it can be able to assist in protecting your application. So inside our customer model, I would want us to talk about a few things. And sometimes you may be using a different table. When we look at the model that we have created, our model is called customer, and our migration is called customers. And ultimately, inside our SQLite database, we are having the table that is called customers. Sometimes you may have a model, but the table that model is using is a different table. So in this case, you must state which table is being used inside your model. So in this case, you can say protected and then the name of our table. So in this case, if it's a different table, you have a table called My Amazing amazing customers. So if you include it like this, then this model will no longer use our customers table, but it will now be using our amazing customers table or something of that sort. So that is how you can be able to customize that. Sometimes you may also want to customize the primary key. For example, in our table, as we have it right now, our primary key is just called ID. And if you want to use a different primary key, then you can be able to have protected primary key, and then you can be able to state, so maybe my underscore customers. So if you have a different, you want to use a different primary key apart from the ID that we are having here, or maybe you have renamed it to something else, then you can be able to still use it in such a fashion, as long as you ensure that you have stated that here. I would also want to mention another thing. For the primary keys that we are having here, they are numeric. So in this case, if we are to create a user, then the first user in our database will have an ID of 1, and then another one an ID of 2. So it will be incrementing up until, if we have 100 users, then you have those users having an ID of 1 up until an ID of 100. So sometimes you may find that you are not using a primary key that is incrementing. So if it is not incrementing, you can set that to false. So you come and have it here and say incrementing and set it to false. And once you do that, your primary key will no longer increment, so you will be forced to create a primary key every single time you are creating a resource. In this case, if you're creating a record in your database, then it will be a responsibility of ensuring that you have told your application what it is that you are using as a primary key for this specific record that you are adding inside the database. And sometimes you also find that your key is a different thing, because ideally whatever it is that we use by default, the primary key is actually an integer, and in this case a big integer. So sometimes you may be using a different key type. So let me just change this. So key type. So if your key type is not numeric, or maybe it's not integers, you can change it and say my primary key is actually a string. But you will find that most of the times you will not go into these things. I'm just mentioning for purposes of giving an idea on whatever it is you can expect. I will not talk about UUIDs and ULID keys in this video, because those ones are a little bit, maybe I can't say advanced, but we will be able to work with this other way and format of doing things before we look into those things. I believe in time we can be able to look at them. We can also have set the timestamps to false. Remember, when we created our table, it created for us the timestamps, that is, the created at and updated at. You can also be able to come and set the timestamps to false. So you can say public timestamps, and you just set it to false like that. And what that means, in fact, even for this incrementing one, we're setting it to false, is not a string. So we can also set the timestamps to false, and then now you will have to remove the timestamps from the migration. So if you have your migrations like this, you can be able to go ahead now and comment out these timestamps. And then now once you be updating and doing everything within your database, it will not be creating the timestamps for your records. It will not tell us at what time somebody inserted that record or what. So it depends with whatever it is that you would want to do. So basically, I have touched a little bit on migrations. I have touched a little bit on models. And we have also been able to look at the user's model and seen what we have there. And probably you can be able to have ideas on what it is that you're supposed to do. I would like to mention just one more thing, because here we're having name, email, and gender. Sometimes you will be forced to create to allow for mass assignment here. So you will have to have a value here protected, fillable, and then you will have an array of values. You have a name, I believe we have email, and lastly we have gender, something of that sort. And this will protect your table from mass assignment. You can also be able to just say protected guarded like that and set it to an empty string. So you can use either this or this, but this second one, you will have to be very careful how you are saving your data, how you are updating your data, because you can easily land into trouble. So basically the best way to do it is stating the fields that are in your database and then having them that way. I would like us to go ahead and look at factories. And we said initially, if you want to create a model and a factory, you will say PHP artisan make model. The name of the model may be teacher. The model is teacher, and then you can say it has migration and it has factory. So when we create it like that, then if we come to our models, we have the teacher model. And then if we come to our factories, so our factories are found inside database, and then factories, we have teacher factory. But of course, you cannot be able to just create the model and factory only. You will find that you also need to have the migrations. Otherwise, it will be meaningless. And so for the factory, here is where you can be able to create some fake data inside this return method. And to just give an example, I would like us to look at the user factory and see what we have here. So inside this user factory, we are generating fake users for our database. And we are having name as fake name, email as fake unique self email, and then email verify that we are putting some time, and password we are hashing the word password, and the remember token is a random string of 10 characters. So basically, once you have the factory, then you can come and run the factory inside CDAS. So inside our database CDAS, you can see we are having the creation of users, and we are calling the factory here. So user factory with 10 records create, like that. And that actually, what it does is it creates 10 users for us in our database. So let me just comment this one out. And once you have the factory inside your database CDA, you can come to this place and just run PHP artisan db seed. And this database seeding just means you are putting some fake records inside the database. And in this case, we are using the user factory, which is above here. That is what we are calling. So once you do that, if I'm to hit enter, then you can see it says seeding database. And now if we go to check our database again, I will open database.sqlite, and then we will go and check the users table. And now you can see that the users table has 10 users. You can see the IDs are beginning from 1 up until 10. So they have emails and email verified at and password and all that. And as you can see, as I said, the password is hashed, so you cannot be able to know. But for all of them, the password is actually the word password. So that is that. And I would like us to try and create a factory for our customers table. So let me go ahead and do that. So we can say PHP artisan make a factory, and then we can say it is called customer factory, like that, and hit enter. And we have an issue. Yes, and the issues we are having is because of what we have here. So I guess I will have to comment every other thing. So I will leave that and comment every other thing that we have here. It's because of all those stories that I have put there are the ones that are bringing issues. So let us try again and create it. Now you can see we have the customer factory created successfully. And so if we come to this customer factory, we can be able to return some values. I believe we had the name, and so we can say name and say this will be fake name, comma, and then we have email. I believe we did have email, and this one we can have fake. I can even just copy what we have in the user factory. So for the email, we can copy this like that, and then come and paste inside our customer email like that. And then we can say the gender, and for the gender probably we can be able to just have fake, and then we say random element, and we can be able to pass in maybe the genders, male and female, like that. And after doing that, I think we are done with our customers, because these are the three things that we were having. So let us go ahead and see how we can generate this seeder. So I'll just copy what we have here, and now we are going to have a customer model. So customer factory create 10, maybe we can say 20. So here you can pass in the number of records, but then above here you must ensure that you import the customer's model like that. And now I would like us to try and seed again, but remember, if I run this now, the users will be 20 because we will seed 10 more, but it's just okay. So PHP artisan db seed, and now we have been able to seed some customers inside our database. So if I open, and we open the SQLite viewer, and then I scroll downwards and open the customers table. And now you can see we have the names and the genders assigned randomly. So for each and every person, we have the gender being assigned as male or female, regardless of whatever the name is. But of course, you can be able to do better with that, depending on whatever it is that you want to achieve. But sometimes generating it like that is just perfect. So basically, that is all about what I wanted to talk about in this tutorial video. If you like the video, please give a thumbs up. If you are new to this channel, please consider giving us a subscription. If you have a comment, you can shoot in the comment section below, and I will see you next time.